Hello and welcome back to another episode of Coast Football Weekly. This week's guest is one of the backbones of our referee branch here on the Central Coast. Welcome to the pod, Wayne Young.
Thanks, Adam. It's good to be here.
Now, I've known you for quite a long time, Youngie, but I'm interested to dive into where sort of things began for you. So, in a footballing sense, when did you start first getting involved in football?
I could go back most probably over 55 years in playing under fives, and Football New South Wales has been taking my money ever since and continues to do so. So football is pretty well me, and you know where I've been for every winter for the last so many years playing football.
And what's kept you around the game for such a long time?
I suppose the mates to start with, school friends, all that sort of thing, which went into people that I grew up with, which, moving, suburb to the Central Coast, new bunch of mates, one thing led to another, to the point where I came back this year and playing 45Bs with my old entrance mates after a 2-year break. And, that most well hasn't gone to plan, but it's so good to be back with them again.
How does the body hold up these days while playing? Obviously, refereeing is a lot different.
Absolutely. And I really feel that. And that's most probably why I stepped away from playing, from the physical contact and sort of a lot more in control of what my body does and my legs. I enjoy running, and I still feel like I run fairly well. And I enjoy the mental part of, refereeing as well, the touch and base with coaches, with players, officials. Yeah, it's all good.
And when did refereeing sort of first become in the picture for you?
It most probably kicked in, thinking about years down the track. And both my boys wanted to do refereeing. And I turned 50 and thought, hey, I'll give it a go as well. And, one thing led to another there. I started off refereeing, but have become more of a mentor type figure around the place than a referee.
So it was never really part of your thinking before for your boys sort of come across refereeing?
I was always ready to pick up a whistle and, have a blow if there were a referee short or anything like that. And I think it most probably goes in with my, my other job, one might to say, with Fire Rescue New South Wales, just in regards to sort of, working with people, making things work, enjoying themselves, the old thing these days about, referees, not only enjoying themselves, but, being safe. And that's what I wanted to do as a referee, make an enjoyable game and people are safe.
Now, the boys still refereeing. I think they've stepped away, have they not?
They have both stepped away due to, work commitments and other things in life coming along. But, I'm sure both of them could pick the whistle back up and make me look pretty ordinary again.
Now, I'm sure there's been a game where all three of you have done a game. What was that experience like with you and the twin boys?
Oh, yeah. We have done a few games together, and they're very quick to sort of say, "Are you sure about that, Dad?" And we couldn't wait to get to the halftime break, and they sort of had a few words. We had a few looks at the book, and I come out on top, which was good.
When you look past them, obviously stepping away, going on to different things, what's kept you involved in the game in a refereeing aspect?
Once again. The physical part of it, the running, the enjoying, feeling like I had something to give to refereeing. I feel like I can make a difference as a referee on the field, knowing that I wasn't perfect as a referee, but I was willing to give my best job out there and make it work. It was really good, as the years unfolded, building up good relationships with other older referees, and they're still really good friends today. Falling back into the mentoring part of younger referees, I suppose taking up the role of, cadet coordinator at the entrance there early on, for 3 or 4 years was really instrumental. I think that's a really big area that it's a bit like a nursery for referees coming through to CCF, and such an important role for non-comp players to have a referee that's guiding them around the park.
Yeah, when you think of our junior referees who you work a lot with, how important is it for them to have that sort of mentor to lean on before a game, after a game, to dissect things?
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think it's really important that it's, going back to that, enjoy yourself and be safe. It's not only a refereeing thing, it's a player thing as well. We want them to enjoy themselves and be safe, and it's a referee's responsibility to take that seriously. And so we sort of try and, even though they might only be young, first, second year referees, that, there's things that they need to take seriously, and people are looking at them on the sideline to make sure that they're engaged. They're somewhere near the ball when they make a decision. If they're on the line, they know where the second last offender is. There's clear signals. There's a whole lot of things that we ask of our referees before we even get into the rules. I know when they first start out, I say to them, if it looks like a foul, it most probably is a foul. If it looks like a handball, pull it up. If someone gets injured, blow the whistle. Let's just keep it really simple. And, as things unfold, you get a bit more confident, and, you get a bit more freedom. The game flows a little bit more, and, you play advantages. And that. So, it unfolds for a young referee.
Well, most of our young referees, I would say, are involved in the game as a player. It's interesting seeing a first-time referee who has been around the game for so long in a team aspect, but then all of a sudden they're called into action as a referee and they get very nervous. Someone who came into refereeing late, do you remember what your nerves were like during your first game?
Oh, terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, nervous as they come.
Yeah.
And nervous as they come is because there's so much unpredictability about a game of soccer. You don't know what sort of day those players have had.
The coaches.
You don't know what's going on in their life. There's some players, I'll be saying g'day and everything like that. They walk onto that field, it's a different person on the field. It's a competitive sport. It's a physical sport. And it's an outlet for people during the week. So I suppose just dealing with that unpredictability of it, and not only players but coaches and spectators, and it's a community thing. Soccer, it's not just sort of a player and a referee. It's a whole lot of things involved in, and when it all comes together, it's such an enjoyable thing.
How many new referees do you think we get, or would you say we get roughly each year?
I think that's something you most probably have to ask Luke. But I sense we're picking up more and more first years every year, and I think we're holding on to the older ones at the other end. We're thickening out the middle section. Those referees that we can give to men's all age and women's all age and that sort of thing. You spoke about there before about players becoming referees, and sometimes that's a difficult thing, wearing two hats. That they're a player one day, then they're referee, then they go back to be a player. Even to the point where we've had some referees that have left playing to pursue refereeing only, and have become great referees.
We had Jane Downs on, who's stepped away and he's doing NPL in Sydney. And looking to do some great games.
Braden McDonald, he's stepped away from playing and going ahead in leaps and bounds. So and two, we've got some middle-aged referees. I'm going to say middle-aged. What's 30 to 40-year-old middle-aged? That have come back to refereeing possibly after a bad experience as a younger referee and have matured over the years and want to give back again. And they're in the trenches, day in, day out, doing, 3 or 4 games, every weekend. It's just, we'd be lost without them.
I remember we put out a big call to sort of our men's 35s or men's all-age players to say, look, we need more referees in that sort of age group. And those players, those people have probably been around the game for as long as you and I, right? Their whole life, so they have an understanding of the game. How easily does that sort of transpire into being a referee for someone who has had that experience as a player?
Oh, I think it's invaluable. It's the experience is there. They just need to add the refereeing part to it, and most probably know in the back of the mind a style of game they want to play. I was always told that I let too many little fouls go when I was refereeing. to let the game flow.
Yeah.
Which was fine until someone wants to take that into their own hands and say, we've had enough of that, and a major foul comes about, and then, I've got things running away on me. So, that's just something I used to always keep in the back of my mind about sort of, just feeling the tempo of the game.
Yeah.
Because the referee doesn't want to be any bigger than the game, wants to be part of it, and once again, make it safe and enjoyable.
Yeah, well, they always say the best referee is the one who goes unnoticed, right?
Yeah.
Who just go about their job, not making decisions where one side's thinking they haven't got the rub of the green.
Yeah.
Even each year we go out for new referees, and we do get quite a lot, but the retention of referees is probably not as high as we want it to be. What do you think is the cause for that?
I certainly know the retention of referees is not because of the flexible working hours.
Yeah.
They can pretty well pick and choose the days they want to work, the times they want to work, where they want to work.
Yeah.
It's not because of the support that comes their way.
Yeah.
Because, we've got mentors out there on the weekends. We've got, progression paths that people can take. I sense the people that walk away from refereeing, especially at the younger age, have worked out it's not for them.
Yeah.
That they've worked out, hey, I thought this would work for me, but it hasn't. And, something else has come along and they've followed that path. I don't think it's because of the support that might be lacking or direction that might be lacking.
Yeah, well, there's multiple reasons people referee. If it's just a extra bit of money, fitness, or if they do want to progress, being part of what you do with the younger referees and seeing them to go on, do you think that's one of the most rewarding parts for you, is seeing them?
Oh, for sure. And I think just the fact that I've, compared to some people only been around, for 12 years, but during those 12 years, I've seen people come from 14-year-old to 20-something-year-old and progress into senior refereeing, and there's nothing no rewarding, more rewarding, I should say. And, they pick up skills not just with refereeing, but with life.
Skills, yeah.
They become more assertive when they need to be.
Yeah.
They pick and choose things that are important to argue about. They know how to, walk away from something that, it's over. I don't need to be involved in that anymore. Dealing with angry people, because people aren't happy with some decisions that might be bad, and they might be justifiably angry, but it's not going to change a whole lot. So, they pick up so many life skills, and I always ask young referees, are they a spender or a saver? And most of our referees are savers.
Okay.
They like saving their money, and I'm not really too sure what it's for, but yeah.
Year on year, working with these same referees over and over, do you notice a change in their confidence?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's exciting. And it's really nice to point that out to them, because when things happen and you just get older and so, last time I seen your referee, this X, Y, and Z, today I'm here and, it's you've taken on board. I don't know it's off the radar a bit, but we used to have a problem with a lot of our younger referees not wearing watches and keeping time in games. They just grew up with iPhones and everything like that. So there's a really big push for you've got to get yourself a watch, spend some of that money that you've saved, go out and buy a watch. And last weekend I was out and about. There was watches everywhere. It was, and I'm thinking, people listen, people take on board and they go forward.
Well, I think the branch as a whole over the last few years at least has come a long, long way. It's more like a community, more of a family now than ever. I see your meetings that you have here, everyone's all involved, all on board. How important is it for our referees to sort of have that community feel within the branch?
Oh, once again, it's you can't underestimate how valuable it is. You just mentioned the meetings there. We get 100, 150, maybe even more referees turn up, but they just don't turn up. They turn up in their uniform. They turned up engaged. They turn up like as if we're a team, you know. And, you know, you go back and you just see the stability that we've got as a refereeing team at the moment. You know, Alex putting all his ideas down to Luke and Luke moulding his magic, you know, with Warwick and Danny, you know, like how do we go ahead here? We've got, you know, the mentoring team that's out and about on the weekends. You've got RDP and that's only the stuff that you see. There's so much, I sense, goes on behind, you know, the curtains, you know, where people are encouraging each other. Older referees touch base with each other, you know, a text message here, good luck there, you know, can I help out there? And we never hear about that stuff, but you see good friends out there. And I think that's, you know, I think it's the last 3 or 4 years we've had 100% coverage of games. And, you know, that's exciting.
I think people are almost starting to take it for granted because when you go back before that, like it wasn't often you'd go to a men's all-age game and you'd see a referee. I think what Luke's doing it's incredible.
Oh, for sure.
To get 100% referee coverage in our games, it's really remarkable.
And I think, you know, the other thing too is that Luke has a confidence to be able to put something out there and he'll get a reply back. You know, I can do that. I can do that. Yeah. Put me down for that. You know, which is, you know, hopefully, you know, he gets a few more, you know, not sleepless nights or whatever like that, you know, wondering about how it's all going to come together. But it just shows that there's a positive feel around the place and we all want to be there for each other. You know, a bit like playing, you know, we walk on there as 11 players and we're all there for each other, you know, and we want to give 100%, you know, not only for ourselves but for our mates.
You mentioned earlier uniforms. Now, I've been around you before where a referee showed up, maybe he's not wearing his polo shirt or things like that. Is that one of your biggest pet peeves when it comes to...
I'm polite about it because I don't know what sort of morning they've had or whatever. I'm most probably more of a socks down type person, or you know, they turn up in, you know, their brother's black shorts from rugby league or something like that. If you haven't got your uniform, let me know. Let's get it right. You know, because, you know, you take pride in the uniform. You take pride in your job and, you know, that just spills over into the way you perform on the field.
Yeah. And I mean, you talk about transferring into life skills, even showing up to a job. It is a job.
Absolutely.
Outside of refereeing, I mean,
And a lot of these young referees have, you know, their parents have got to drive them round. You know, they can't get up and jump into the car and away they go. Like, you know, I take my hat off to parents at making sure that young Jimmy Bobs is out of field, ready to go, and then stay for, you know, 2 hours while he does his 2 games.
Yeah, it's not like they're playing, like they're just watching them run around in the middle of the field.
And it's tough being a refereeing parent. You know, you've got your young bloke out there in the middle with 22 other players, a coach, most coaches with most probably a wealth of experience, and your young bloke's learning his trade. He's trying to, you know, work out how do I fit in, how do I make it work, how do we be safe and enjoyable.
Abuse, which is a factor in our game on our sidelines. It's not just the players on the field; it's the spectators, it's the coaches. Have you seen a change in that lately? I mean, there's armbands to show under 18s. Do you feel like it is getting better?
Oh, without a doubt. Okay. I'm not saying that we're out of the woods or we've eradicated it, but, you know, the things that CCF have put in place and the responsibility we're putting on people, you know, not just talking about our code of conduct placards and things like that, but I'm talking about the responsibility that we're putting onto like ground managers, you know, looking around their grounds, getting a feel for how it's going, onto team officials. Hey, if that person's out of line, just go up and have a quick whisper to them because it's a lot nicer coming from you than someone else.
Someone from within their own club.
That's really important. And the way that some of our referees deal with dissent is good too. They've got fantastic hearing on that field. And, you know, I always talk about the time one of our young referees come over and the coach didn't think that he'd heard him and the referee had, and he come over and go, there'll be no more of that, and just left it at that, and nothing else needs to be said, you know, and, you know, they went on and, you know, the whole game. But just the fact of, you know, junior players, you know, 5 minutes off the field, you know, senior players 10 minutes off the field. No one wants to be off the field when you're playing a game of soccer, you know, especially for saying something that, you know, made you, you know, maybe I didn't really need to say that.
Yeah, bit of heat at the moment. Yeah, because it's not only our junior competitions where we're trying to crack down on abuse, the sin bin rule, but I think between men's all age and men's 35s, it's probably where we see the sin bin rule come into use the most, right?
Yeah.
Back in their day, they probably got away with it a lot, but times are changing, and it's just uncalled for.
Absolutely. And no one wants to be sent off for getting a yellow card for a bad tackle, then getting someone to argue and get a second yellow, and that's the end of their game. You know, like,
Have you ever seen abuse sort of end a referee's career and them not wanting to come back because of something they've suffered during a game?
Nothing really jumps out at me. I know, you know, there's a couple of referees I most probably walked away, but that was most probably, you know, there was other things going on for them as well. And, you know, there's got to be a level, you know, a bit of a thick skin that a referee needs to have, you know, because there's emotion involved in the game and you want people to be passionate about what they're playing. And, you know, I'm more concerned about the person that yells at me from 40 metres away than the person that's right next to me and going, you know, saying something, you know, like. But yeah, it's a tricky thing to handle, and referees have their own way of dealing with it. It's a personal type thing. Some people don't take a word of swearing or dissent. That'll be the end. Others, you know, have a bit more of a thicker skin, and depending on the age and the grade and experience of the referee, you know.
Yeah, I think our NPL players probably get away with more than anyone just because the level that they're playing at and also the level of the referee that they have.
Absolutely. You know, just in regards to, you know, you want the game to flow, and the referee is out there with experience and, you know, gauging of the tempo of the game and where it's heading, and, you know, what's going on, you know, under the carpet, as one might sort of say. But, you know, as Daniel says, you know, engaging with the players, having a chat along the way, a little whisper here, a little chat there, having a rapport, like, hey, that didn't go unnoticed. I saw that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not making anything bigger than it needs to be, but hey, it's on my radar.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, no one else on the field might know that. The spectators don't know that.
Yeah.
You know,
just between
you've
a referee and a player.
You've been there.
Yeah. Well, as a player, like I understand what it's like from when a referee gets a call wrong. That can potentially change the result of a game.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think in most scenarios, when a referee makes a mistake and they own up to it, I make a mistake as a player. I know that. So it's just, I think it's more comforting being able to speak to a referee and them maybe admitting they've got that one wrong. Do you try and get your referees to be pretty open?
There's most probably not a whole lot of time during the game to you know, chat about those sort of things too much. But, you know, we need to move on quickly. We've got a whole game to referee, and, you know, whether that one thing was right or wrong or whatever, I've still got a game of referee, and I've got to do that confidently and, you know, to the best of my ability, and, you know, having to leave things behind and sort it out later, because, you know, I take things to heart fairly quickly, okay, but I also need to move on, and I'll think about that later. Well, normally the coach comes and raises it with me. But, you know, and I'm more than happy to chat with coaches that want to have a conversation rather than, you know, pointing fingers.
How important is it to instill that in our young referees of if they do know they've made a mistake to forget about it and focus for the rest of the game?
If they can fix that mistake quickly, like, you know, a ball's gone in for a goal, you know, then they've realised, no, something's gone wrong there, and overturn it, fix it before the kickoff. Do it. Okay, don't let things build up sort of thing to the point where, the words from the sideline might get a little bit more. But, yeah, if you see something wrong and you can do something about it, fix it.
I mean, refereeing as a whole has come a very long way. We're seeing games, I think junior games, all age games, our referees are mic'd up. How big of a difference has the referee changed worldwide and here on the Central Coast, do you think, since you first got involved to where it is now?
The miking up stuff, for me, makes it so much more engaging.
Yep.
Okay. There's communication going on throughout the game.
Yep.
There's referees that hear what's going on the sideline through the AR that's there and the mic. It gives the referee out in the middle a lot more confidence because you got ARs that are play. That see a throw in that the referee might not see, might see a penalty, and there's that sort of stuff that can go on between the mic, and makes the referee look like a hero.
Yeah,
So I think the mic stuff's here to stay. I did a game on the weekend without mics, and you just notice the difference.
Right. Okay.
When you haven't, you're relying upon that constant eye contact. The soft signals on the line, and calling the referee over. And chatting about something.
Was it a big change for you going from not having mics to then when you first started using them? Because if you're doing the sideline, you only got the crowd behind you. You probably felt quite alone, right? But now you've got your two other officials in your ear, and it probably makes you feel a bit more comfortable.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt. And just because you're the AR that's not involved in the play, you're still involved. You're watching the back play. You're counting the referee in on a free kick, a corner. Balls in play. There's the whole range of things. And I know this shouldn't come unexpected. Our young referees love technology. But I suppose you've got to be aware too that there's some referees that don't like chat the whole time. Tell me what I need to know. I don't need to know
everything.
Everything. Yeah. So, and I think it's like everything. Have a chat with the referee on the way in, way he wants to run the game. As an AR, we're there to support that centre referee. We're not there to run the game. So I always encourage our young referees, because some of our young referees are doing some really, really good games. And they acknowledge that. Luke's put a lot of confidence in some referees, and they've performed. To his credit, you know. He's a good boss.
Yeah, he is. Do you think the standard of a whole of refereeing has improved over the years as well?
Oh, I think so. Yes. You might ask some players, and they might, on their day, think that way or another way. But I think so, and I think it has to, just the whole support network that's in place.
Yeah. Someone who was looking from the outside into now being involved, what do you think some of the biggest misconceptions are about refereeing or referees?
We're not human. We don't always get it right. As obvious as it might be, we can still miss it.
You feel like referees are almost expected to be perfect every game?
I do know that there's players that have most probably got a better view at things at times than the referee, because they're right on top of the ball. But that only comes from experience, by once again being close to the ball. When the ball making its way into a dangerous area like a penalty or anything like that, just referee go to another gear and say, hey, I need to switch on here. This is the important area. Getting back to your first question about misconceptions, is that the other one is that I feel like if a referee makes a mistake, the teams think they'll even things up. We're looking for the consistent referee.
We're not square up, the old square up.
I think that those days are gone. If someone gets sent off, I'm trying to square it up on the other team now and square that up. Play the game as the game is, and go from there. And I think the other misconception is at times the referee that you get for your game, that's his first game and only game for the day, and he should be as fresh as a button. That might be his third game, or maybe even his fourth game. Because he's filling in, doing it. So don't get me wrong, you're still getting a quality referee. But he's just might be a little bit short.
Yeah. Now, there's one thing I want to bring up, and I know you probably don't like talking about it, but it is the Wayne Young Award. Now, we did name an award after you, and you were the first recipient of the award.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you pick the winner of the award. What does the award symbolize to you? And give us a bit of a backstory about it.
I sense that most of it comes around. There's a bit of a chat between myself and CCF and Luke and that. It meant a lot to me, because it certainly is something that come out of the blue, even to the point where the guy next to me had to nudge me and go, "That's you."
Yeah.
Like, I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, you've just won an award and it's your award."
Yeah.
And but when I stood up there and in front of my peers, and younger referees and that sort of thing, and the fact that it was going to be a perpetual award that each year, that sort of moves on, and it meant a lot, and like coming from. The background that I had in referee, which was mainly as a player, to reaching that point where that acknowledgement really meant a lot, and my peers really made me feel that as well, which was really important.
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, the award symbolises someone who just goes above and beyond. It's not just showing up to your game, refereeing. It's everything else that goes into that, whether that be assessing or whatnot. We've had 2 winners since, or maybe 3.
I think
2
we've had
years, 3 winners in that time. What are you looking for when you think of the Wayne Young Award?
I suppose just taking a step back, there's something that I'm really fortunate about is to have some time on my hands, just in my work and shift work, kids moving on, wife very supportive about what I do. So it enables me to be out and about. And, I get energy from chatting with referees and seeing how things are going, chatting with coaches, presidents, whatever. Like it's more of just a CCF contact around the place as well. I get asked a lot of questions on the way around and everything like that. And, the person that commutes 5 days a week, coaches their, son's team or daughter's team on a Saturday and then goes and does 2 games on a Sunday refereeing, I take my hat off to that person. We do what we can do, and you do one game, that one game can just be as important as someone else's 6 games. I think that's the really important thing to me, and what the Wayne Young Award would symbolise would be do what you can do because it's making a difference.
It's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
That gets awarded every year at our referee awards, end of the year referee awards. I think it was last year you got another award, and it was a piece of turf from Pluim Park.
Yes.
Just because, we're here every final series. It feels like we don't leave the place. But for someone who doesn't need to be here, you seem to be here a lot and somehow managed to get to other local grounds during the day. So Alex cut you a bit of turf, which I believe is still at your home.
It is. It's in the ground.
You planted it.
I did plant it, and the dogs love it. The dogs find out where it is. It's most probably overrun with a whole lot of weeds in my lawn. I'm not a real big gardener, but it meant a lot. And, when I mention it to people about, they go, say no more.
Are you hoping to get more to add to
the
the collection?
I'm not. I'm more than happy for someone else to have that. And, you mentioned, finals, they're exciting times, and they're not far away. And it's exciting for our referees because they need to start going to an extra gear. Because finals bring about, the best of us, not only in players but in referees. And so I'm excited about the next few weeks, leading into the finals and, how referees are tracking.
Yeah, well, even speaking again about Jane Downs, who come in here, he's been refereeing for X amount of years and said he's never had a grand final. So,
right.
Like, to referees, I know players it means a lot, but to referees as well, to get that recognition to get awarded a grand final, it must be pretty special to them.
Absolutely. I haven't done many grand finals myself, but I did. My first grand final was a 14D girls game. Was Budgeroy versus Berkeley Vale. Honestly, every grandmother, mother, grandfather, I'd never seen such a crowd at a game, and everyone's just coming over and go, what is going on out the back there? It went to extra time, and it ended up being, I think, 2-1. And I walked out there thinking, wow, that's a grand final and a half.
Well, leading up to finals, you will have a seminar here with all our referees.
Yeah.
How much of that is about penalties and making sure our youngsters know, or not even our youngsters, but all our referees know what goes on in a penalty shootout?
Oh, for sure. Really important. They always say a good referee will finish the game in normal time.
Yep.
So
the association definitely says that because it messes up our whole day if they don't.
Yeah. We've seen enough penalty shootouts in the World Cup. The penalty shootout during the week between the Mariners and United.
11-10.
11-10. And even the one that missed was a good one. I just thinking, it's insane. But once again, it's the setting up, it's the controlling of it, it's the slowing things down and, letting everyone have their day.
Have you ever been a part of a shootout as a player or as a ref?
No, as a player, I've been part of a penalty shootout, and the only thing I wanted to do was either in the goal or the goalkeeper saved, and the goalkeeper saved it. I just didn't want to miss the goal.
That's the thing they always say, at least hit the target.
Yeah, exactly right. But, in regards to the referee as a penalty shootout, I've been involved in a few and they've all gone well. But, it's... as CCF, they're the things that we want to go right. When it gets down to a penalty shootout, there's no good winner in a penalty shootout. But it's an unfortunate thing that needs to happen. But
it's a tough way to lose in a grand final.
It is.
In a shootout.
It is.
Speaking more about our end of season awards for our referees, how important is it that they receive recognition at the end of the year?
Oh, absolutely. But I always think, the recognition a referee really feels most is when he walks off that field at the end of the day going, that was good, knows inside himself. A spectator comes over and shakes his hand and says, well done. Those sort of things, because we all know we're only as good as our last game and they'll be next week. So let's take on, the thank yous and that sort of thing from the game we've had. And the awards will look after themselves. Awards are something at the end of the year that if you had a good year, it'll come your way.
Yeah.
But the week in, week out refereeing is, I suppose, where it's at.
Yeah, I think you could also relate that to being a player. Like you could feel like you've had a great game, but if some opposition coach or a random spectator is telling you, well done, it does make you very proud of what you've just accomplished.
Yeah. No, without a doubt.
Looking ahead to referees and where our branch is heading, what's next?
I was out and about on the weekend, went to Toukley. All 3 grounds were full of non-comp games.
Yep.
Okay, under 6s through to under 11s. I said, how exciting is this? We've got cadet refereeing out there looking after this. We've got cadet refereeing the entrance, Berkeley, Camwell, Doyleson. Every club seems to have grasped the cadet refereeing and doing a really, really good job with it, and, to the point where we've even got some of our referees that are part of that system. To the point where Saturday night I went to the Women's Premier League, Terrigal versus Killarney at EDSAC, and then went up to Budgeroy with Budgeroy versus Arimba. We've got Women's Premier League referees, Men's Premier League referees. It's so exciting to sort of see that happening at both ends and filling those gaps. There's a huge gap in the middle, but we're filling that as well. We're filling the teenage games, the all-age games, and not only filling them, but, referees wanting to be there and that. As far as going ahead, we've created a positive feel around the place where referees can look forward to where they might want to be next year or the year after. They might have a role model that they can look up to.
Well, they certainly have the pathway to go further if they want. Yeah,
there's no silly questions. Even to the point where our referees are involved in Football New South Wales games here. Mariners, CCU. There's a wealth of experience there from as well. We like having them for ourselves, but it's good to be able to share that.
For you personally, do you have any goals in the upcoming years?
The upcoming years, retire at some stage from work. I'm not too sure what that means for refereeing, but at the moment there's no plans on retiring from refereeing or being involved in mentoring or just being around the grounds, taking the occasional photo here or there.
Occasional, there's
so I think that's most probably where I think I'd be heading.
When you do, and it's all said and done, is there sort of a legacy you do want to leave behind when it comes to our branch in Central Coast football?
I think the biggest thing for me is, and I think this is just a personal thing, is not to get too far ahead of yourself. Every experience you have out there as a referee is something to be learned. Every game's got something for you, whether you're doing an under 10s or 11s game, which is so competitive, or you're on the line for a men's all-age 8 game. There's something to be learnt in everything. Don't get too far ahead of yourself. Opportunities will come along if you're ticking the right boxes. You will get noticed, and just be out there. And once again, I say it again and again and again, enjoy yourself and be safe.
What would you say to anyone who's thinking about becoming a referee?
Take your time, be patient, don't put too much pressure on yourself, take little steps, ask questions, and know that support's there. I think that's most probably the biggest thing. You don't need to change the world overnight.
Is there one bit of advice that you're giving to these young referees? I know you talk about doing the simple things right, but is there maybe a rule that constantly they misinterpret, or is there anything that sort of comes to mind when you think of advice that you're constantly giving out?
Yeah, second last defenders always seem to be, be in line with your second last defender as an AR is most probably the biggest bit of advice I give out. Be more worried about the offside than the throw-in. Okay, the referee will look after that. That'd be the AR 2 bits of advice I give out. Centre referees, stay outside the centre circle. Do not become a centre circle referee. If you find yourself in the centre circle, move somewhere else.
Right.
If the ball moves into a critical area, make sure you're close by. They're most probably, I keep it pretty simple. They're most probably the 2 for an AR and for a centre referee and go from there.
We got some quick fire questions as we start to wrap up here. Do you have a favourite ground around the coasts?
I would most probably say EDSAC. I enjoy running around, big park there, and with the spectators on the hill, you feel like you're part of the game. And I just enjoy being at EDSAC.
Do you have a favourite referee that you've worked with?
I've worked with so many, and I would most probably, I always don't want to really mention names and that because I always feel like I've missed someone out. But I do enjoy working with our older referees, where we get together, have a bit of a chat, go do a game, and come off and have a chat afterwards. So I would most probably say our older referees.
Okay. About a most memorable match? Was it the 14Ds grand final?
Oh, that was a significant game. I think last year I did an under 23s, Terrigal versus Arimba at Arimba Park by myself, and I walked off that game. It ended up being a 1-1 draw, and I thought to myself, if I can referee like that every week, I'll be a happy man.
You might be doing first grade.
No, I've got no aspirations for that. But I was, it was a late call, fitted in, and felt good about it.
Now, as a mentor, I'm sure you're used to giving out plenty of advice. Is there one piece of advice that you've received that has really resonated with you throughout the years? Anything that comes to mind?
Try and keep your emotions close. It was most probably, there's a lot of emotion in a game, and, it's really easy to react, but you're there to calm things down, slow things down, and move forward. So, keep your emotions in check. I remember someone telling me that.
This one came from the referees branch. Any pre-game rituals or meals and post-game recovery activities?
I would think my pre-ones is there to make sure I'm there on time.
Yep.
All right.
That's pretty important.
Yeah. I enjoy wearing my black shirt. So I go black, blue, red, yellow.
Yeah.
I always take everything out with me, whether I'm an AR or in the centre.
Yeah.
And I've never had to be called in from an AR, which is good. And I think when I am in the middle, I used to start off with a conversation that most people used to feel like must have gone half the game. Now I go out there, good afternoon, heads or tails, let's go.
Oh, okay, between the captains.
Yeah. And I think Pete Townsend taught me that.
Yeah.
And always he said, don't put too much pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
So, that's my pre sort of game.
Yep.
Afterwards, I enjoy just sort of, going away, sitting down for a while. It might even be to go watch another game of soccer somewhere, but I tend to not go straight home after I finish soccer. So, yeah.
Is there a certain referee that you're, I wouldn't say most proud of, because I'm sure you're proud of a lot of our referees, but is there one who's sort of come through the system you've had since you were young and are now maybe be doing first grade?
There's mostly two. One's a female, Lily Hayes.
Yep.
Remember the first game I ever saw Lily referee. Didn't know too much about soccer coming up from Victoria with AFL and all that sort of thing. But out there doing a good job, and the ball went into this penalty area. It's hit someone's hand. Go, penalty.
Yeah.
And she's gone ahead and leaps and bounds ever since then. And I think most of the other one would be Braden McDonald.
Yep.
I used to referee Braden with him when he was with Woongarra. We'd had a number of phone calls over the years when he used to play. Then he go playing away and started refereeing, and one step's most probably gone to another. But, they're just two that come straight to mind.
Yep.
I refereed with Cameron Patterson yesterday, had an absolute blinder. So, I could go through and mention quite a few, but, they just sort of jump out at me.
Okay, and we'll end on one final question. Out of your two boys, who's the better referee?
I would say Jared.
Yeah.
Jared's a better referee, but I also know that Hayden doesn't leave anything in the tank. Like when he's finished a game of soccer, he is given 110% of everything. So very proud of both of them and really enjoyed watching them referee when they did, and they've taught me a lot over the years.
Well, thank you very much, Youngie, for coming on and for everything you do behind the scenes here at Central Coast Football. You are a referee, and I'm sure a lot of people who see you around our local grounds, but the work you do, it really does go a long way. So, thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much, Adam.
What a fantastic weekend of football we have coming up in our men's and women's Premier League. Round 15 of our NPL competition gets underway with a local derby on Saturday night at Allen Davidson Oval, as Wyoming and Gosford meet head-to-head at 6:30 with crucial points up for grabs in that fixture. Cairn will look to back up their strong showing and build on last week's win against Terrigal when they welcome first-place hopefuls Berkeley Vale under the bright lights of Wadalba at 7 p.m. On Sunday, we have our match of the round at Budgewoi, and it does not get much bigger than this. It's a rematch of last year's first grade grand final as first-place Southern make the drive to second place Budgewoi with 3 points deciding who finishes that week on top of the NPL ladder. Early in the season when these two teams met, Budgewoi edged the Lions 5-4 in a 9-goal thriller, so you can expect another close contest this weekend when the two sides meet for a top-of-the-table clash. On Sunday, we have another contest with high stakes as Umina and Kalani battle at Umina Oval at 2:45. Umina still have their sights set on finals, but will need a flawless end to their season, starting at home this week, while the opposition look to position themselves away from the relegation playoff zone with 3 points. Our fifth and final game sees last place at Rimba at home against the O-Lads of Terrigal. Rimba are still searching for their first win of the season, but will welcome a determined Terrigal side who are looking to bounce back from last week's loss and further cement themselves inside the top 4. Round 17 of our WPL competition gets underway at 5:30 on Saturday night, with our league leaders Killarney hosting Kincumber in the match of the round. These two teams are only separated by a late goal in their last meeting as the Terriers won 2-1, but the Roos will take plenty of confidence from that encounter, knowing they can match it with the competition best as they look to cause an upset on the road this weekend. We have 2 more night fixtures this weekend, with Camberwell playing host to Umina at Wadauba. The Bulls find themselves on the bottom of the ladder after last weekend's results, while the opposition enters the contest in their season best form, coming off 2 straight wins. Southern and the entrants kick off at 7 p.m. as the Reddies are coming off a huge draw with last year's grand finalist and second place East Gosford. The Reddies look to back up that result on the road as they search for their 3rd win of 2026. And on Sunday, it's a top 4 battle between 4th place Terrigal and 2nd place East Gosford. Terrigal welcome the Rams to Duffy's Oval as these two sides currently boast a win each over one another in their previous 2 meetings this season. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Coast Football Weekly. Please remember to like and subscribe on YouTube, leave a rating or review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. As always, we'll catch you next week for another episode.